All right, good morning, class, and Dr. Matas. Today I will be going over Chapter 6, Reading in a Second Language and Culture by Pauline Gibbons. Today's chapter will examine the kinds of information that effective readers bring to text and suggest some of the reasons for why the reading process may break down for students learning to read in a second or new language. This chapter will also begin to examine different strategies to use with students in three different context areas. One being, as before the students read a particular text, during the reading itself, and after the students have completed reading the text. I want to start off with Gibbons talking about reader roles. The first being reader as a code breaker. This kind of knowledge allows readers to decode text as they read. In English, it includes being able to distinguish the sounds of English and how these relate to the way a written word looks, left to right, directionally, and alphabetically. Reader as a text participant. The reader connects the text with his or her particular in-the-head knowledge. This is any prior knowledge they have before attempting to read a particular text. This includes knowledge of the world, cultural knowledge, and knowledge of the generic structure. Next is reader as a text user. A reader is able to participate in the social activities in which written text plays a major part and to recognize what counts as successful reading in a range of social contexts. Examples: not all cultures value reading for the relaxation or interest, and others may place great importance on the value of reading religious texts. And reader as text analyst. A reader reads a text as crafted objects, one that is written by an author who has a particular ideology or set assumptions. An effective reader reads critically, recognizing in the text what is assumed, not said, implied, or unquestioned. Gibbons gives examples of this in the text, such as the media, and how the media at times have an alternative motive, such as media, and they talk about specifically media advertisements that deliberately seek to manipulate the reader. Implication for EL learners. One being, what a teacher does before a book is read is an extremely important part of the overall plan for using it with the class. Build up the knowledge and understanding that are relevant to the text that children will be reading. And part of learning a language involves learning about the culture in which it is used and learning new ways to use language in more specialized contexts. So I want to start off with planning for reading, activities for before, during, and after reading. Classroom reading activities should generally aim to fulfill two major functions. One being, they should help readers understand the particular text they are reading. And two, they should help readers develop good reading strategies for reading other texts. Some of the questions we as educators should be asking ourselves is, what will we be doing before the reading? What will we and the children be doing as we read? And then what will we be doing after the books or texts have been read? What will we be doing with the children after that? So these are some of the questions we should be asking ourselves throughout this process. So some of the aims of before reading activities should be to develop knowledge in relation to overall meaning of the text. So not knowing every single word in the text, but going over a majority of words that are going to be used, and that's the student should know to get a basic understanding of the text. We need to prepare students for potential language, culture, and conceptual difficulties. We need to remind students of what they already know. So this is activating their prior knowledge. And then support students to make predictions about the text. So allow them opportunities to make guesses, to make predictions about what this story or text may be about. So here's a list of some pre-reading activities. One, doing predicting from a visual. Allowing students to get in small groups, looking at illustrations or visuals and making attempts to predict what the story or text may be about. Also allowing the students to predict from the title, the first sentence, or keywords. Sequencing illustrations or diagrams. So maybe cutting out pictures and illustrations and having students work in groups to place those illustrations in a sequential order. And then storytelling in the mother tongue. So maybe initially telling the story, if you have a majority Spanish speakers, then telling the story in Spanish and then retelling it in English. Next is during reading activities. The aims of this would be to model good reading strategies and make explicit what mature readers do unconsciously, engage readers in activity with the text, and help learners understand how to read more effectively themselves. So some during reading activities would be to model reading. So maybe begin your reading and giving the students an understanding of how you want them to particularly read, providing pausing and certain expressions so students get a basic understanding of how you want that reading modeled. Maybe shadow reading, pause and predict, so stopping throughout the text and asking students to predict what may happen next or to answer any questions. And then last but not least, noticing visual layout and text features. Pointing out certain photographs, illustrations, graphs, charts, maps, and diagrams, and having students an opportunity to discuss one another the functions of those visuals are. Next are the aims of the after reading activities. This is to allow students an opportunity to respond creatively to what they have read, such as art or drama activities, to focus students more deeply on the information of the text, such as by using information transfer activities that represent the information in a different form, and then to use now familiar text as a basis for specific language study, such as to focus on a particular item of grammar, vocabulary, idiom, or phonemic or phonic knowledge that occurs in the text. And some activities, after reading activities, would be story innovation. So allowing students an opportunity to maybe change the characters within the story, keeping the central idea, the central focus of the story the same. Reader's theater, allowing students to play a particular character and act it out. Story map, timelines, hot seat. Hot seat is an opportunity for students to get in a circle and being in a chair designated a hot seat where the student is a particular character in the story, and the rest of the class asks the student questions to better understand that specific character. And then last but not least, true and false questions. You can do this in a group setting or even small group setting, and allowing students to state if the questions are true or false. So what is phoneme? Sounds that make a difference in meaning between words. Examples would be ban, ben, bin, bun, and bin. And then how do we develop these phonemic awareness implications? How do we develop? So one is from whole to part. This allows children to see where the language item has come from, where it fits, and its significance in the text as a whole. Next is from the meaning to form. Language forms such as the phonemes of English are a lot easier to make sense of if introduced in the context of meaningful text. Next is from known to unknown. New learning proceeds more efficiently on the basis of what is already known. And then last but not least, from concrete to abstract. Starting with a known familiar story, then working toward more abstract ideas is a way of building on a concrete example to develop abstract knowledge of a language. So as just a basic overview and understanding what this kind of chapter was wanting us, the educators, to understand is that there is a beginning, middle, and end to the reading process for our EL learners, and this maybe even our learners in general, that we need to take into consideration. Our students need to have a foundational understanding of what they are going to be reading about. They need an opportunity to collaborate with one another, and then opportunities near the end of their reading to review what they have already read and use those in more abstract ways. I thank you guys for listening. Hope to see you next class. Have a great day.